All right, well, Bitcoin moving higher after President Donald Trump signed an executive order intended to support the growth of the crypto industry. The order calling for the Treasury Department to create a working group that will provide a regulatory framework for the industry. The order, though, was met with a bit of a mixed reaction there from those within the crypto community. Some expressing some disappointment that it didn't specify and include Bitcoin as the center of a national reserve. Joining us now for more, we want to bring in Samir Karbaj. He is the Chief Investment Officer at Hashdex. That's a crypto asset management firm. So, Samir, it's great to have you here on the show. Let's talk about maybe some of that disappointment that we certainly are seeing play out within the crypto industry. I'm curious just to get your take and maybe the lack of details that we got yesterday.
Hi, Sean and Brad. It's great to be here. So it's been a great week for crypto, actually, on the regulatory front. We saw Tuesday, the SEC has created a task force basically to provide guidance to the crypto industry. That release, creating the task force from Commissioner Ueda was had a very clear stance that the end of the era of regulation by enforcement was clear, and now we're going to see a new era on the SEC. We saw the SEC rescinding the SAB 121 that basically blocked banks from offering crypto services. And yesterday we saw this executive order creating this working group in the executive branch to look at crypto regulation, look at the stockpile. I think people were waiting probably to create that this strategic reserve of Bitcoin will be created from day one, but we know how those things take time, right? We need to look at those policies with care. And now this working group will have 180 days to design policies for the crypto industry. This is huge.
What is the timeline that the crypto industry and investors or some of the largest execs that certainly do have their own larger skin in the game here, what's the timeline that they should be grading the administration on putting forward some of not just the working group elements, but also the conclusions from that working group and actions?
So what this executive order basically defines is that this group will have up to 180 days to propose policies, propose legislations, and propose actions from the executive branch. Some of those actions might be implemented by executive order, so don't need to go through Congress, and that can be a big advancement to the industry. But I think the big ones will depend on congressional approval. So especially giving clarity on stablecoin and stablecoin adoption, this can be huge. So it's important to know that stablecoin has been seeing a major adoption in emerging markets and not much in the US because of the lack of regulatory clarity. And this is one of the killer apps for blockchain technology. So given that clarity might have to go for Congress, the clarity around which assets are securities or commodities and how to regulate assets that are named as security, this also might go for Congress. So I think this is going to be more like a medium to long-term thing, but we're up to a great start.
How would you like to see the strategic Bitcoin reserve be built out? You know, as we're thinking about the amount of crypto that the U.S. already holds because of a combination of seizures as well, 200,000, which is over 200,000, and it's still more than any other nation in the world here. So building upon that, how would you like to see that enacted?
So the U.S. government is one of the largest holders of Bitcoin, okay? And I think that Trump was very clear in naming stockpile, not reserve. And I think that what he can do with an executive order is basically stop selling those assets that the U.S. government has accumulated. So not selling the assets, the other administration was preparing to sell, was actually selling some part of those assets in this stockpile, and maybe with an executive order, he can block that selling and start to accumulate from new seizures. And the other thing that will depend on congressional approval is establish a national reserve. So start actually buying crypto, buying Bitcoin, selling part of the gold reserves and buying Bitcoin reserve. That depends on a legislation. Senator Cynthia Lummis introduced that, and let's see how that's going to be handled by Congress.
Samir, thanks so much for taking the time here with us today. We know you'll be watching this very closely, as we will be too.
Thank you, Brad.